Welcome. You're listening to Nuditea, a podcast where we get naked with our feelings while drinking tea. I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Wendy. That tea is too hot to drink right now. On this podcast, we talk about life things. We love travel, food. We talk about sex, talk with our friends. Today, we're talking about, I don't know how to explain this topic actually. Is it like stresses of the adult female?
The mid-20-year-old?
Mid to late 20 female stresses? I'm not sure what to call it.
It could be early 20s too, though.
Just all from your 20s through to your mid-30s, possibly into your 40s. Actually, this might be a lifelong thing. Might be a lifelong thing.
Yeah.
Well, there's many stresses.
We think we're special in our age group right now. We're not. Everyone has these stresses all the time.
We're being ageist. But, I mean, and it's not just women. Like, some men also experience some of these things. Basically, it's just, if you're an adult, if you're a human, you might be able to relate. Wow, this topic started out real specific and it got broad so fast. Do you want to talk about our tea and non-tea?
Sure. So it is too hot right now. I don't know.
Nonsense.
And I understand that people say when you drink a hot beverage, it like warms your internals so that it feels colder on the outside.
I don't know.
But I don't care for that.
Maybe I feel like that's just because if you drink something hot, it forces you to sweat, which is a cooling mechanism.
That seems awful. But I could see, yeah.
I mean, that's what they say.
So yes, I'm drinking a smoothie that I prepared because it's a little bit colder. It's got some mango, some strawberries, raspberries, banana, and yogurt, and water.
I am drinking what is in this? It is a cranberry apple fruit tea. So summery.
Was that in
our grab bag?
Yeah.
Or a grab box? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. It's unlabeled. Super sketchy. I opened it and then I threw out the label because it was one of those like stapled on plastic things. You know, this motion. This thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we already screwed up like talking about the topic for today. Mm-hmm. But essentially all of this was brought about because I recently, in the past month or so, have had multiple mental breakdowns because I'm at the stage in my life where I'm about to graduate from my grad program, and I have a lifelong partner selected for baby making, and the baby making we want to happen fairly soon because I like the idea of being a young mom because I'm so tired, guys. I'm so tired already. I don't want to be older and still have to like run around and do shit for my child. I want to be young and just like have all of my peak physical abilities and be like going through life, and then once I'm, 48, they're like out the door and it's fantastic. I get to do my own thing.
But here's my thing about that is I think when you just become a mom or you are a mom, you just know how to reach deep inside you and pull out that energy no matter your age.
That's like the thing where like moms or grandmas can lift cars to save babies. It's like the same idea. You have this superhuman strength.
You don't need sleep. You don't need to go to the gym to lift weights. You're just super strong.
Oh man.
You can take care of these children at any age.
Yeah, I'm super looking forward to that. But I want to do that at a young age, which means it's also coinciding with the time that I want to be building my career. And I did not go through 6 years, how many years? 5 years of post-secondary schooling. So 5 years on top of 4 years of undergrad. That's 9 years of school after high school to not have a career. That is not really an option for me. Also, I know a lot of people love being stay-at-home moms, and that is a wonderful job as well. But I want to be away from my kids for a pretty good chunk of the day whenever possible. Mm-hmm. I love my children. This is making it sound like I don't know if I
love my
kids.
children. You don't even have children
I will
yet.
love my future children. I swear. It just doesn't sound like it. I know. So not having a career aside from being a mom/wife is not an option for me. But my mental breakdowns were, I guess, initiated because I realized those two things are kind of conflicting, especially at this age, because if I'm having a baby and on maternity leave, I'm not going to be working. if I'm working, I'm not going to be able to go on maternity leave. And because maternity leave is not kind of an optional thing, you kind of have to stay home and feed your baby. Mm-hmm. It's just a huge chunk of time that I'm not working or having a huge career disruption.
Did you find a solution to this stress?
So we had multiple options. Okay, option number one, you know what? All options are shitty. Let me just start out with that. Number one, I could have this baby during my grad program. The benefits are that I'm covered under health insurance, so our school would cover those, well, hopefully most of those benefits I would get paid. There's certain policies for grad students, like our stipend is already super low, but they're not going to just kick me out and give me nothing if I go on maternity leave. There's still some stipend coming in. Mm-hmm. And the nice thing about that is I can come back and finish my program.
Should you say what a stipend is?
Just the money that you get as a grad student. Okay. It's your paycheck. The bad thing about that is, do I really want to extend my grad school for an extra year or more? I really don't. Actually, no, it would be more than a year because I don't know how long I'm going to be on mat leave or like I'm going to have pregnancy things to deal with. And getting back into it is always really hard. Option number two, I can give birth after I defend. Like, I'll be going to labor during my defense. They can't bully me because I'm so pregnant. Like, you don't want to risk it. So then after defense, I just go straight into the labor room and I pop this baby out and I'm like, it's here! And then I just go straight into looking for a job after like a couple months of recovery. And that seemed like a pretty sweet deal because...
Do you think you have impeccable time management that you could coordinate that?
Listen,
you would
it's
just schedule a C-section. That seems easier than you trying to plan actual like natural birth.
Yeah, I think that's another topic to discuss. Mm-hmm. C-section versus natural birth. Loren should have been here for that. So that was the other option. The crappy thing about that option is my partner can't come to Canada until after he graduates from his graduate program. So I would be just delivering this baby with either my mom or his mom. And I love them both, but I really don't want to do that. That adds a lot of stress.
We talked about this. You'd have Loren.
That's true. It would be less stressful to have Loren than the two moms, but I'd much rather have my partner and Loren.
You probably shouldn't commit her to something without her.
I mean, she's already committed. I've mentioned this to her multiple times. She knows she's my midwife. Okay. Flying her out. So option number 3 is we don't give a crap about time management or future life planning or any kind of stressful thoughts that cause me to have mental breakdowns. We're just gonna graduate and find jobs and like have things happen as they will. So that is our option right now because it doesn't cause me stress because I don't have to think about it. And 2, if we already have jobs, then hopefully they are either in California or a similar state with nice maternity leave policies, or like in a country with good mat leave policies, where I can leave my job and come back to a job and not have to stress and have good like benefits throughout.
What countries? Yet or
honestly, most countries are not that
great.
Bad.
Oh, not bad. Okay.
Yeah, they're not bad, especially the ones that were looking for jobs. Like most of them are developed countries. Mm-hmm. U.S. for some reason is just very. They're so I don't know.
They're still using the imperial system.
So stingy about it.
Do your mental breakdowns follow a same pattern? How do you deal with it when it happens?
Yes, the pattern is I overthink because I love to plan. I'm a huge life planner, and even if things don't work out, I will have tried to plan. So far, my life plans have worked. I've been very, very lucky. All of my 5-year plans have succeeded. In my master's, I was like, I need to meet someone during my PhD, during the first year. We need to be like committed and getting ready to get married by the end of our graduate program. That way we're all settled by the time we get jobs to have babies. All of that has happened.
So Bean's just right place, right time? Is that what I'm hearing?
And
there's
right
no
person.
real connection.
Right place, right time, and right person.
Oh, how lucky you got that right person at the end. There we go.
I feel very lucky. I'm shocked that this all worked out. Me trying to plan all of these things was the issue because you can't plan. A lot of the time you want to have kids during these early career stages, because you have to go find a job if you want a job, but then the baby thing is just kind of messing everything up. So I'm like up to here in mental breakdowns, but only up to here.
Where's code red?
Code red is like at my tear ducts. Okay. That's where they spill over in the form of tears. Okay. Because it's like, it's not mental, it's a mental breakdown that doesn't really have a solution.
Until it happens, and then you'll deal with it.
And then you'll just have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had this breakdown, like talking to his mom, talking to him. I think I talked to Loren about it. It's been a time. And it was kind of stressful. Here's the thing where, like, being the woman in the relationship, or whoever is going to do the birthing part in a relationship, here's why it's stressful. Your partner, at least my partner, was not aware of how much of a stressor this was. And even when he was like, oh, well, what if we just, like, find jobs, and then a year later we can get pregnant, or you can get pregnant, and then we'll just be having a kid. And I was like, okay, yes, but did you consider that I will have worked for only 1 year? I'm barely settled into this position. I finally have, like, hopefully at that point, a little bit of street cred with my competence, you know, like, getting my connections sorted out in whatever situation I'm in. And then now I'm like, okay, bye, I'm dipping to, like, give birth. And then you're gone for such a long time, and they have to find people to either replace you temporarily, or, like, something happens to your position, and when you come back, it's like you're entering a new job situation. And that's very stressful, especially when you don't have previous work experience. I've been in school this whole time. It's not like I've had 5 years work experience and I just started this new job and I'm like, oh, never mind, like, let me just go take a quick breather for this baby thing.
Yeah. Well, your work experience is in the lab.
Yeah.
For your schooling.
Yeah.
And they understand that for the most part.
I mean, a lot of people do view PhDs and masters as a job.
I mean, you get kind of paid like a job a little bit. You get money
you get paid maybe like a third of what a normal job would pay you for the number of hours you work and for your qualifications. But, you know, yeah, let's say it's a job.
Yeah.
But a lot of places don't necessarily count that. Like, you have these skills from being in these programs, but it might not be a job experience. And I was shocked at how little my partner had thought about these issues prior to me having these mental breakdowns. Because he's thought about, like, the responsibility of having kids financially and as a father emotionally, physically. But I think for me it's a little bit different. Because I have my career to worry about. He just has to go do his job, and he's offered to go on pat leave, which is nice, but I still have to contribute significantly through, like, breast milk and not being awake, or not being asleep, rather. Okay, I think we've gone through, like, my main talking point. I just wanted to tell you about my mental breakdown situation, and that went on for quite a while. Because I saved this conversation for our podcast filming.
Yeah, Wendy withholds stories from me now because of this podcast.
Yeah, so now I want to hear what you have to say about being a woman in her early to mid to late 20s to early to mid to late 30s.
Wow, you know, are we trying to keep the listeners guessing as to what my age is?
No, I'm just trying to keep our target audience open.
Oh, okay. So my first stressor, I guess, it's just kind of constant. It's always in the back of my mind, and yet I'm not being proactive about it. Yes and no. I don't know. It's just choosing a career or what kind of work I want to be doing.
My parents are concerned about you. They tell me that sometimes.
Okay.
Not to add pressure or anything.
No. Lots of people are super supportive of not picking something right away. My sister is always all like, you're doing your own thing, and she's very positive about, like, I got a lot of stuff going on. It's not like I'm directionless and not doing anything. You know, I obviously work, I have some volunteering on the side, I'm doing a sport now, I have a relatively busy social life, I think you can attest to. It's kind of hard because there's so many options out there, and it's almost paralyzing in what do you choose, because I'm already in debt, not a major debt. I think a lot of other people have much more than I do. And I'm slowly paying that back, and it's hard to pay it back faster because I'm not in a job that pays super well, and I can't seem to find that because I'm not choosing something.
Right.
I'm definitely gonna have to do more schooling. Year-long masters where it's just lecture-based won't get you anything. I wouldn't know because I haven't done that.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that so many people do that because we tend to put off being an adult.
Yeah.
As long as possible. Even our friend in Waterloo jokes about that. She's doing her PhD, so she doesn't have to decide on anything yet. We'll just keep doing school. So knowing I have to go back to school, I love school. I really don't care that I have to go back, and that's always been a reality. I think it's just a given that I'm going back to school at some point. But to choose what I want to do and realizing that I'm still going to be putting myself further in debt, I don't want to pick wrong, but sometimes in order to figure out what you want to do, you just have to try things.
Yeah.
Which is frustrating.
It is frustrating because you can't shop around necessarily for these postgraduate programs as easily. It's not like they let you let me just attend some classes and go to some labs and participate and talk to profs. That takes a long time. It takes a lot of effort. Not a lot of places have programs in place for you to do that. So it's like, how do you choose from the plethora of life science-based programs out there? And there's so many fields. It's good because we have a lot to choose from, but it's also bad because if you don't actually have a direction you want to head down, where do you go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the further I put off choosing something, I'm like, I gotta choose right now. I can't just do this trial and error. It's not true. But at some point, I have to be saving for retirement. It's very frustrating.
Yeah. It's dangerous because what if you feel this pressure and you end up choosing something and then you blow through a semester or two of tuition costs and you realize that, this is not what I wanted and I shouldn't have let that pressure affect my decision so much. So I'm with you. I want you to pick something that you think you would really enjoy doing. I still think surgeon assistant, or is it a physician assistant? Surgical assistant. I think that would be a great job for you. So I'm team surgical assistant.
Okay.
But I mean,
I'll add that to the tally and the team.
That should be top priority, okay? Because I said so.
I mean, it's interesting. I loved my anatomy courses and the dissection and all of that, and learning that, and that hands-on experience was super enlightening. And that's one of the courses I'm like, yes, this is why I took biomedical sciences. I really am enjoying this, and it's a whole nother level of learning and stuff that I got. So.
Yeah. Oh, I have a question. Sorry to interrupt your thought.
No.
But because your family is quite traditional, at least your parents are quite traditional, do they ever tell you to pick something that your mind, you're intellectually overqualified for, to just go and have this job and have a career and just do it because in the end you're just gonna get married and have kids and blah blah blah?
Well, they know I'm probably not gonna have kids.
Yeah.
So and I think they've come to accept that our trajectory of our lives, all their children's lives, are not gonna be reflective of what theirs was necessarily. So
because your mother was also highly educated.
Yeah, she was a medical laboratory technologist in college to get that, and she was in there until my older brother, so her fourth child, was born. She was doing all of that, and at 4 kids, I guess, I think they probably have some worry about what I'm doing, but I also think I was on the phone with my dad, and he asked, hey, are you looking to get on full-time with the city? So I think he's hoping I pick something or figure out, but I told him I don't want to be with the city full-time. I do want to eventually have something that is challenging me. And I'm okay with this job for now because it's 6 months and then I'm off and I'm constantly doing or moving and doing something. So this is the second time this has come up with my dad has asked the question of, are you going to look to see if you can get something full-time? One, it's really hard because it's union and they want experience in certain things and I don't have that and they want all these qualifications and that's another thing. But he did, at the end of our short talk, he did say he's proud of me because I am still just taking care of myself. I think he's happy that I don't seem to be struggling in
Yeah.
probably his eyes, and I'm just like kind of doing my own thing. But I do think they probably wish, they do ask the question like, oh, what do you think about what the future looks like? I think that's just a classic parent thing. I don't think that's specific to my situation.
Right.
So I think all parents kind of ask that future question,
Yeah.
no matter how annoying it kind of
Yeah.
can get, and they don't know that they're probably triggering some kind of stress.
I think, I just wondered about that because I'm just still in school, so I kind of have a buffer for like, oh, what do you think you're doing? It's like, well, I'll find out once I finish. So that's kind of a good answer for me to counter with.
Mm-hmm.
But for you, it's because you're taking this time after you've graduated to really sort out what you really want to do. I'm just worried that people are very concerned and pressure you to like pick something and just do it.
A little bit of pressure isn't bad because it might actually get me I've become very comfortable. Like I love Guelph. I have my friends around. Even the friends that are not in the city are close enough. So me choosing like, one, I have to go back to school. Where's that going to be? That kind of thing. I have to make those big decisions and I'm not afraid of them, but it is nice to just kind of be in this. I hate the limbo, but I don't mind the limbo. So before I start my next thing, imposter syndrome is the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills.
I would also like to add to that, it can also apply to future successes or future roles. If, for example, I had not really an interview by any means, just a chat with this guy in my field who does like a lot of cool research. He's one of like the leading researchers in what I'm studying. And when I was talking to him, he was explaining to me the projects that his team is working on and what they're hoping to do in the future and all of these projects he has in mind and how I might fit into all of this. And the more he talked about it, the more I felt the imposter syndrome, because the things he was talking about, I understood all of them. At least I understood the words, but it seemed so out there that I was like, I could never attain this level of skill and like critical thinking and like research ability and just competence in general.
But you can, because you're you, and I think you could, but you don't
That's
believe
the
that.
thing. Yeah, that's the imposter syndrome. It's like, when I think about it, it's like, well, if I was put into that role, you just learn.
do it,
And
you
you're
learn.
with amazing people, and they help you get up to speed. But after I had this interview with him, maybe I was just on my period or something. I was hyper emotional. I had another mental breakdown being like, oh my God, like all of his stuff sounds so just wild.
Impressive.
Yeah, he was very impressive to talk to, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to even talk to him. But at the same time, I was kind of depressed after. I was like, never gonna get a job with him. His work is just too high up there. So that's my take on like future you imposter syndrome versus now you imposter syndrome.
So my definition, or where I'm applying imposter syndrome to, isn't necessarily successes in a way. My brother just turned 29. He's like, because he's almost 30. He's like, does it ever feel like you're just not an adult, or you're like, where you're always in this limbo of your mid 20s, where you don't actually like have to make real adult decisions versus just kicking back, hanging out kind of deal. And so the imposter syndrome for me is I don't know when I start feeling like an adult. And I think that is linked with my career issue of not being able to pick something. And since I'm in limbo with my career and success in that aspect, I never feel like I'm getting older, and yet I am.
Here's what I want to ask though. What does feeling like an adult mean to you?
So I think it's just me looking at my parents and other people and reflective of kind of what society has deemed you're an adult when you own your first house, when you get married, when you have children, when you have a career, all the big things that my mom...
Like certain milestones.
Yes. And I haven't really reached any of those. I have, like, obviously got my degree and all that stuff, so I've completed that, and I'm supporting myself, and I am doing this stuff. I'm in debt. I think that's a real big adult thing, being in debt.
Yep.
I think also my issue is, well, I came into university 2 years older than everyone else. So I've always just had friends who are younger than me. And even now with my volunteering with like an on-campus club, I'm meeting people who are just younger than me. And so there's this weird thing that I think everyone brings me down to their age, kind of, sometimes. Or they're very shocked when I tell them my age.
It's that flawless bottom skin again.
Wow. It's because I don't wear makeup. That's the real thing. So I think it's one, I'm surrounded by people who are just generally younger than me, and therefore I get lumped into what they're doing and whatever they're dealing with, and that's usually just not what would be, I don't know, these adults.
But I think it's important, going back to your perspective on where your parents were at our ages, that has shifted a lot too. So young adults these days are struggling a lot more to buy a house, get a family started, have kids, start a retirement plan. All of that is happening later now anyway. So our sense of not being an adult maybe needs to be changed a little bit. Maybe this is like the new adult. New age adult is you're working your ass off to pay off student loans, and because of student loans, you can't get married, you can't buy a house. The dating apps are apparently crap, so you can't meet anyone to get married with anyway.
Is that from your one source?
That is from, yes, just our one friend.
Okay.
Yep. So I don't know. I feel like everything has shifted back so far that maybe
I know that, but I also think it's a big part of why I still don't feel like an adult is because I haven't chosen what to do with my life. And that feels it's dumb. It feels juvenile to not know what you want to do with your life at 27 a little bit, but I know it's not. I know that's ridiculous.
That's a very simplified version of
yes.
the question, though. It's like, what do you know what you want to do? It's like, do I know what I want to do for the next 60 years of my life and spend multiple thousands of dollars to invest in this kind of career? Like, it's a big loaded question. It's not just like, oh, what do you think you want to do? I want to be a pilot. It's like, have you considered all the things that you have to be qualified for to get to that point?
I think the scary thing is, I think this is what I was thinking about earlier, is the reality just we might never be entirely happy? We'll eventually get bored of whatever career we pick.
It's possible. That's
and
the
then
other thing.
We're like, do we go back to school when we're like 40, or do you just keep trucking until retirement? It depends
you
on
decide
what you want.
when you're bored, right? And that's the other thing. Our parents' generation and previous generations, they're very used to having one career, and that's the career they have for life. Nowadays, people jump between careers all of the time. Like, they'll go through, I don't know, a solid decade or something and be like, you know what, I'm ready to move on. They do something completely different. It's a very possible and real thing that is happening. So I feel like we also maybe shouldn't fear, like, just getting into something.
Yeah.
Or, like, maybe not be so scared of picking a job that might not seem like your ideal job, because chances are you won't be at this job, this one position forever, even if you're with the same company.
I think it's also because you want to pick a job that has job security, that won't be irrelevant when computers start taking over the world. You want it to be there for the rest. If you choose it and you love it, you want it to last until your retirement.
And we picked life sciences, and life sciences are going to be around for a while. And I also picked life sciences plus computers. So, when the computers take over, I'll be on their side. I'll be team computers.
You thought all that. I got to get into computers. Man.
This sense of imposter syndrome, I think, is also exacerbated a little bit by the fact that right now, a lot of these higher ups that I talk to are all men. For some situations, not with every single, male person of authority that I've met, but for some situations, I find that I have to adjust my personality a little bit to be able to make these connections, to be able to have them look at me and be like, oh, she's a competent
I see a little
worker.
bit of myself in that person.
Yeah, she's she's out here and she wants to accomplish this, and this. I feel like my personality gets switched on and off based on who I'm talking to. And when I have to switch on this persona of I'm here, I'm a badass bitch, getting shit done, that personality isn't always me. Sometimes it is.
I don't know if that's someone all the time, though.
That's
Someone
true.
Be bad
That's
bitch,
true.
You get shit done
Yeah.
all the time. Maybe.
But
yeah.
the thing is, like,
Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Never mind. Solved.
we just all aspire to be her.
Yes.
But that's another aspect of the imposter syndrome for me right now, because like if I get into these positions where men dominate the field, how did I get there? It's through this like fake personality that I've put out to be like, oh, look at me, I'm basically one of you, I'm one of the boys, like I can do this, I can do whatever, I can wear the pants, like I don't wear pants, or no, sorry, I don't wear skirts and dresses to conference events anymore, because it makes me look like, one, I'm Asian, so that doesn't help, but two, it makes me feel like they won't view me as an equal, or a potential, I don't know, acquaintance.
Here's the thing, I think if you fake it in the sense that you are what they want to work with, you can get to that top area and then you can then be yourself. And
It's
other
true.
people coming up, can, as long as you don't lose that, you lose yourself in the process to get up to where they are in order to be yourself.
I mean, that's reassuring, but it feels weird to me that I have to play up certain aspects of my personality that aren't dominant parts of my personality. So
It's just networking in general.
yeah, it's like I'm very much an introverted person, and it's one thing to network with other female professionals. It feels a lot more comfortable. Our talking points are often linked to certain aspects of femaledom or like professionalism in these fields as a woman, and the way we speak to each other is also kind of, it feels more on like equal grounds. When I'm talking to males in the field, it feels very different, and I have to play up that very strong character, that like joking around, like punch you on the arm type of feeling. I have to play that up a lot more.
I think that'll slowly like get diluted
I hope
once
so.
more women are in those roles. It's just this transition period where it's weird.
But here's the thing though, women, it's hard to
Because
get
of
up to those
maternity.
roles because we have to make freaking babies. We have to produce other humans. It sucks. It super, super sucks. And I know a lot of like feminists that are like, you can do anything like men can. And I agree with that. But we can't deny that if you want to have a kid, you're out for a solid year. Like, you just can't really get around that.
And I think the consensus that I hear from people, celebrities in general, when they're asked, like, how do you do it all? They're like, you don't. You do one thing, and then you do the other.
You half-ass all aspects of your life, okay?
Yeah.
Get over it.
And that's just how it is.
And we're all functioning humans.
Yes.
So, you know, it happens, and we're all okay. I just have to wing it. I'll just have to wing it. That is...
Slowly you'll be able to, like, sprinkle more of your personality into it once you get higher up or someone starts to get to know you.
Yeah. Like my supervisor, she's high up there, and she's wonderful, and she does not hold back when she's in a meeting with, like, other men who are being dicks. She just, like, shuts it down. She does not care. Well done, supervisor, who shall not be named, but is wonderful.
Yes.
Okay.
So my final stress is not as heavy as those other huge stresses, but it's keeping in contact with friends.
Okay.
And if I'm doing enough to do that, to keep that, like, friendship strong and connected. And I don't want to lose certain people. So I have someone who's in Peterborough who I don't get out there enough because the transportation, public transportation, I don't have a car. So this becomes, one, I don't have to make car payments, which is great. But visiting people becomes a little more difficult. So going to Peterborough from where I am in Guelph right now, it takes 3 to 4 hours.
Yep.
Not super expensive. I think it gets around $30-$40 with Go transportation. But it is a little bit harder to get out there. And so I feel really bad because she comes up here more than I go down to her. She's also very busy. And so I always worry that I'm not pulling my weight in the friendship of staying connected. I'm someone who definitely tries to make plans and seem invested because I think that's important. And I'm also a very blunt person. So if I don't want to do something, I think for the most part I don't do it. So it's hard when I'm getting ghosted by people when I'm just like, can you just say you don't want to hang out with me and that's fine? It saves me a whole lot of time and effort if you just sever it. I'm not going to be hurt. I have other people in my life. This isn't do or die, but I don't get down to see someone in Toronto very much. The person I probably see most, or people who I see most, are the ones in Mississauga. It's way easier to get there, one bus. But at the same time, Ben's been on the podcast, so I can say his name. He comes up every Wednesday to do trivia, and he comes up
just
on weekends
randomly.
More than I have. I haven't been down in Mississauga in a while, so I feel bad about that. I'm also just very busy.
But they have cars. I think that's a huge difference.
I also think, like, I need to maybe text or call more. I've always been a very poor caller and texter. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, here's my thing. I have been narrowing down my friend circle for the past 2 years or so. And it's been excellent because even with my smaller friend group, first of all, like, I hardcore just cut some people out that I used to be friends with and I used to see sometimes, and now I'm like, I don't want to hang out. But
if
now
I'm ever
that
toxic in your life, you tell me that.
I'll just cut you off.
I want the
clean cut.
No ghosting.
Podcast is over.
Yeah.
The podcast is separated. I'm the nudie, you're the T. Wait, no, it should be you're the nudie and I'm the T. Okay, so with my smaller friend group, it's the type of friend where you cannot call or text for months at a time, potentially even years at a time, and when you connect again, the feeling is the same. And I don't think I put a lot of pressure on myself or the other person to reach out very often, because I'm just like, this is our relationship. Like, we don't need a lot of maintenance. And I feel like the good relationships are the ones that don't require constant maintenance, because it's not like I'm having insecurities like, oh, if I don't text you, you're gonna forget about me and then we won't be friends anymore and I've ruined everything. It's like, no. And I've talked to one of my friends in Toronto about this. Her parents live in Guelph, and we thought that we'd be seeing each other a lot, but our schedules just never match up quite well. I do get to see her sometimes, but when we have those long breaks, I did have my, like, once in a lifetime heartfelt moment with her where I was like, hey, we've been meaning to meet up for the past, like, 4 months and nothing's worked out, but I just want to let you know that I appreciate you as a friend, and I really appreciate that our friendship doesn't require high maintenance to feel like friendship.
So many feelings that you...
I know, it was a stressful time. I have, like, even thinking about it now, I'm feeling a little sweaty.
Wendy doesn't do a lot of feelings through texts, maybe through other aspects.
I don't do
She literally gave me her phone once, being like, can you read this and, like, reply? And I'm like, what? Well, it's hard. I have a really solid group of friends in Guelph, so that makes it really easy. I just don't want the friends, like, in Waterloo and Mississauga and Toronto and Peterborough, Barrie, all these places, to feel like I guess I've forgotten about them. They probably don't think about this at all. I'm just that kind of person, because there's definitely been times where, I don't know, like, you just, like, this is why I like closure or something, because, like, people just leave you hanging.
Maybe you should reach out like I did and just tell them that, listen, I appreciate you as a friend, and I'm glad that our relationship is low maintenance. Yeah. And I feel like that's
true.
I just honestly don't feel this stress, because I don't have anyone in my life that I, like, am actively trying to ghost right now. And all my friends that I currently have, it's like,
Wendy's gonna ghost me so fast as soon as she moves to California.
That is not true.
Singapore.
We're equally terrible at keeping connected through text or calls or whatever. But when we connect again, it's going to be like, oh, well, here's a 3-hour phone conversation of everything that's happened in the past 4 months of my life. And the feeling is the same. I think that's what's important for me. Yeah. If I feel like I haven't talked to you in 4 months and I don't really want to, that's when I know it's like, sever it off. But if I haven't talked to you in a while and I'm like, I still want to be able to connect with you through text, phone, meetups, whatever, then those are the relationships that I want to keep. And those are the low stress ones, because I know they're not really going anywhere. Yeah. On my end. They might be ghosting me, but then it's like, well, then I'll just not talk to you ever again, because you'll not reply.
I think I'm just thinking of this one particular instance. No, it's happened sometimes. It's just like, you try to make plans and they're like, oh yeah, let's do it. And then, like, they'll just bail in the last minute. Yeah. It's just, I just want straight talk. I just want people to be like, oh, hey, I don't know, like, just very grown up
But it's
about
also
it.
not the flaking thing. It's also that they never initiate.
That's true. I do hate.
Yeah, it's not like flaking happens.
Because the non-initiation happens to me, that's why I'm all like, I really need to make sure that they know I want to try to get out there or that I'm planning to get out there.
Nah, Kim, don't be stressed about this. I'm just can't relate. Can't relate.
I just don't want, like, sometimes I wonder if, like, certain friends are, like, a little more lonely, and therefore...
Oh my god, Kim, that is not your problem. Also, they probably have flourishing social lives that you don't know about.
It's true. I know. See, I overthink. I do. I overthink everything, and this is very apparent in one of these stresses of just being like... Also, I was talking mainly about keeping in contact with friends, family as well. Like, I have a lot of siblings. The problem is, because we will easily talk for an hour, I don't have time for an hour to talk. I should just get better at being like, oh, 15 minutes, done, but then we get talking, and it's like, oh, where'd the time go? If I gave each of my siblings a day and said, I'm going to call you on this day, that is almost every single day of the week.
You know what I like to do? I
Not
like to
siblings?
plan these phone calls right before I have to leave for something.
Okay.
Because then I'm like, hey, I just wanted to chat, but like, just so you know, I have to pop out in like 15 minutes or so, but I wanted to talk to you. And then like, you literally have to go. So you're like, okay, let's continue this. And then because you're kind of cutting the conversation off, maybe where it doesn't naturally end, then you're excited to talk to him again the next time you do. Right before another event. Like, okay, another 15 minutes, go! So, yeah, that's how I do, like, family phone calls, because those can go on for, like, 3 hours at a time. And sometimes I like that. Sometimes I'll just sit down in the evening and just, like, lay on my bed and we'll just, like, chat with no end in sight. True. But other times when I just want to, like, pop in and see how they're doing, then I'm like, okay, gotta hop on the bus. Good time for a call.
So, for any friends and family listening, I love you and I appreciate you. That's it. Okay.
For family listening, you know I love you because I call you all the time. For friends, low maintenance is fine. It's fine.
You call your family a lot. I barely call, like, my parents. I feel like when you're always like, oh, I'm going to talk to my mom. I'm like, didn't you call them yesterday? You're like, yep.
Yes. And my mom, oh my gosh, this is such a point of pride with my parents because I am the most filial child out of all of their entire friend group because I call and text the most often.
So it's a little bit of pride for them.
They're like,
just got off the job.
my daughter is so
again.
busy with her PhD, but she makes time to call and text every day, or at least call every other day, and then we'll have like weekly 3-hour discussions. Like, no big deal. Y'all jealous.
So savage, Wendy's mom.
It's like the parent. It's like the Asian parent thing where they always want to like
kind of compare
up the other, like up their friends,
yeah.
Even though they're kind of like, oh, your child is so great. My daughter calls me every day. Okay, I think I'm gonna cut us off
because we are running probably a little long. Classic us.
Classic. But we're going swimming after this. We have an event after this. This is why our conversation's getting
for
cut
anybody
off.
watching
Perfect.
the YouTube version of our podcast. That is why we've been wearing bathing suits this whole time. We forgot to mention it. We're going swimming. It's
immediately.
Hot. It is hot.
Literally right now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Nudity. You can find us on pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts except for like Spotify and SoundCloud.
Yeah,
right?
SoundCloud.
Because they have their own like podcasting host sites. So anywhere that's like your own podcasting app, you can find us at Nudity Podcast. You can also see the filmed edited version by Wendy herself on YouTube at the same name, Nudity Podcast. And we also have an Instagram. Guess what? Same name. So check that out. Cool.
All right. Bye.
Bye.